All right, good day, everyone. Welcome to this PIMvendors.com webinar on AICA's SmartCapture. I'm Stephan Spijkers. I'm the co-founder of PIMvendors.com. And though PIM, Product Information Management, is in our name, we focus on a much broader product data consulting and product data solution space, including all the recent developments in AI. Of course, everyone wants to do something with AI, and it is the new frontier. Brings huge efficiency gains if you are able to unlock that value. The challenge of unlocking that value is in having a good foundation of high quality product data or high quality data to work with. That's a huge challenge we see with customers day in, day out. And to get to that high quality data, luckily, you can use AI. And that solution, that journey towards good quality data with the help of AI, to unlock the value of AI, turtles all the way down. I brought here with me today Isak from AICA. Isak, could you maybe quickly introduce yourself and then maybe take it away?
Hi, Stefan. Thank you very much. I'm Isak Marais, the CEO of AICA Data International. And today I'm going to do a presentation on, or actual demo on SmartCapture. But I think before I start in the demo of SmartCapture, I need to just frame the environment where SmartCapture fits into the whole ecosystem. And this is based on experience that we've had in the market. As Stefan said earlier, AI works well when your product data is clean and enriched, but it does not work well if you've got sort of dirty or unclean product data. And in Gartner's reports, they say that more than 60% of all AI or agentic AI projects fail due to dirty product data. So let me start first on the product data intelligence platform. So if you look at the graphic on the screen, on the left-hand side is the raw data, and the raw data might be in the form of a database or a data lake. In the center is the AICA Product Data Intelligence Platform. And the key services there is product data cleansing, enrichment, creation, and comparison. Now, you can't do proper product data cleansing and enrichment if you do not have proper dictionary. And that's why below, I'm going to look on different screens. That's why below is the link to our product data dictionary, which on one of the separate podcasts, I'll go more into detail, but really looking at the taxonomy, thesaurus, ontology, and attribute rules, to name but a few things. I'm just going to quickly touch on it maybe a little bit later on in this podcast, but this is the foundation. AI, if you just put in a prompt into AI, the chance of it hallucinating is very high. But if it's guided by a product data dictionary that understands the context, then you have so much more value and accuracy that comes in, and you get the real benefit of using AI. And again, so this product data intelligence platform sits between the database and the business application. The product data intelligence platform is not a business application. It only looks at the data itself. So it's not a MDM, it's not a ERP, it's not a PIM, it's not a ERP. It supports those systems to ensure that the data is right. But the challenge that we found with data, and we've been doing product data cleansing enrichment for the last 4 years with multiple global brands that we've supported. But in a lot of cases, the challenge comes in that the data is so bad that even with AI, you can't even clean it. Now, to maybe give a simple example, the MDM manager might find in his data set a description bearing and $3 million worth of stock in bearings. But what bearing? Is it spherical bearing? What type of bearing? Where's the attributes? And if you work multi-locational and also multi-continental, like many of our clients do, it becomes even a bigger issue, because how do you see what type of bearing you've got across your whole organization? And this is really where SmartCapture comes in identifying and taking the challenge down to, let's call the warehouse operative that can go and photograph the image. It's enriched and it's sent back. That way you don't need to do specialized subject matter expert teams that do walk downs. It can be done by one of the staff. But I think maybe just the next thing, I just want to touch on a product data dictionary. And what you're seeing here is a taxonomy of part of our dictionary. And the relationships, very important that you understand context. AI only performs well if it has proper context. And what we've done, we've trained or we've built up this dictionary with all MRO, but also then electric, electronic, DIY, all those taxonomies and ontologies are built in. I'm just giving you a sort of a brief idea on what this is about. Thesaurus themes. So, saw, blade, rotary, synonym, cutting. These are the type of things that you want to link, and this brings context in. Now, SmartCapture also fits in here because a challenge. Lately, they said language translation or proper multilingual translation will only be solved on high accuracy levels between 2035 and 2050. With SmartCapture, we're able to do this within 6 months, again, because we're putting the tool in the hands of the person and the language type and that uses slang, and they update this data dictionary. Briefly also going to go down just to give you a bit of an idea.
Yeah. Maybe a quick question in between, Isak. So I see that it takes a global data standard, like in this case, UNSPSC, or probably also GS1 GPC as a baseline. And then basically you can do edits or local folksonomy edits to add to the data dictionary. Is that correct?
That's 100% correct. But remember, now you take this language challenge and you fix it at the core, at the where it happens, where the people understand how they identify an item. But when you pull it up into the dictionary, at the end of the day, when the master data manager or the PIM manager looks at the data itself, it's got different variants. And, this is just sort of some of the information in the dictionary. But today's presentation is not about dictionaries. We'll have a separate one in there. Well, we'll look at SmartCapture. Again, what we've done with SmartCapture itself, this is the application now, obviously on a desktop. You can do it on a mobile. The idea is to have it on a mobile. And we can structure to the level of knowledge of the people that's got to operate SmartCapture, depending on their knowledge and skill level. But also, it is built for sort of master data quality fix. When you have an existing product record with missing attributes, dimensions, materials, new product item for procurement, supplier catalog onboarding, MRO spec identification, quality control. This is also something quite common in our environment where the MDM manager might want to know what the state of the quality of the products, if they've been in stock for a long time, are they still usable within the organization? Then field service and customer support, very important. Lots of times we've seen field service agents not being able to communicate what item they need to procurement, and then procurement buys the wrong item with the wrong specifications. And then compliance and asset audit. This comes in also more on the merchant acquisition side, where companies buy other companies and they've got multiple stores across the world. But the challenge lies in, how do I identify what is actually in that store? And then inventory cycle count. But let's just sort of jump straight in. And again, Obviously, the camera you will use on your phone. In this case, what we're going to do, we are going to just upload a picture. You see if I can find something. Let's take this SKF bearing. And again, it looks at the picture itself, analyzes it. And again, the settings that we can do in here to simplify the whole process is very customizable. Also, we follow the same architecture as what we followed with our classification tool. At the moment, it takes between 3 and 4 seconds, depending on the product itself. Now we've done the classification. But in the case of the classification, what we've done, we are able to parallelize it and do 6 million records per hour. So volume is not a problem anymore. This just gives you an idea of the long and the short description. Let's just do a bit of extension. We can play and extract some extra attributes out of it.
And just a quick question, Isak, what is the source then of the attributes?
Okay, in this case, what we've done is the image is captured. It goes through the data dictionary to see what types of attributes and information is required before it goes to the web and verify the information to see that it's correct. And there's multiple agents also built in here to enhance the quality. Now I'm just pushing different things to get the maximum type of attributes. In this case now, I say, okay, but I know the brand is SKF, and bringing in as much sort of functionality to the user itself. You can do a voice recording, and we're still finalizing this. You can say this is an old item. So again, one would upload this. Lots of cases we find that, especially if you've got multi-continental organizations, they want to have a bit of an idea about the stock itself. Upload. At the moment, this functionality, we're still on the development side, but it gives you sort of how many milliseconds it's taken, an estimation of cost. We can say, okay, let's do an auto classification for UNSPSC, gives you a confidence score. Okay, there we've got some data. We've got attributes, about 14 attributes. And again, you have the ability here to say, I'm a subject matter expert, but my challenge is I'm missing this and missing that. Please go back and find those attributes for me. Now, again, here's sort of a whole list of different attributes. And you can say, okay, I don't want to include this or that. Just as an example, or that section, and that would be left out. Now, can export it to Excel, okay, for verification or check on that side. Obviously, when it gets done in bulk, it gets sent in a .csv file. Okay, finalize and continue. Now, here's a lot of questions and sort of say, okay, I did find the brand, or initially I didn't find it, I fixed it. But what went wrong? Very important. The system is self-learning. So every time that the user provides feedback, the system becomes more intelligent. That means it gets smarter and sort of goes down the, and then you can save and put feedback in there. Let's do another item. Now you see that's quite a difficult one. So let's analyze this. And as I said, we can, depending on the organization, how many transactions going to do, we fix it to the volumes that's going to go through the system. But the foundational sides are done. The product, let me see. You see it, found it. Okay, it's an actuator. Would you have recognized that as an actuator? You wouldn't have. But the OCR did pick up the item number and the brand itself. And just maybe to go, yes, full product name. It did get the naming convention, the noun and the modifier. Let's just see at accuracy. So AI vision is good, data completeness, attribute extraction, product identification, image of the quality. The user won't necessarily see this, but this would be records that your master data managers or the people that curate the data before they bring it into the main database would have a look at and say, okay, we're happy. This information is good. So this human in the loop functionality that we've built into the product really adds a lot of value and ensures that you don't go into sort of a hallucination state. I just want to do something else, which is quite a nice one. Let me just get a different picture for you. I just want to see if I've got, let's take that. Now, going to take a little bit longer maybe because there's a lot of specifications on here. So let's do this track. And again, this might be used by people that want to identify plant in a certain part of the organization, or to get the specifications of items that they want to sell because it's not redundant stock.
What I love is the confidence scores everywhere, right? So what we see a lot with AI implementations, either in dedicated tools or even integrated in MDM solutions or in PIM solutions, is that you get a result. So you ask the AI for X and it gives you the result Y, but you do not get, well, I'm 70% confident that this is actually an actuator, or I'm 30% confident that the brand is SKF, or I'm 95% confident that this is correctly classified as a ball bearing up to a commodity level in UNSPSC. Having that and having that confidence score at such a granular level makes sure you can actually maintain good data quality across the board, because sometimes the AI model might be super confident on one element, but have a low confidence score on another element. That granularity gives you the ability to have various threshold levels. Maybe a 90% accuracy score on brand is okay, as long as the manufacturing part number accuracy is 95+%, right? And you can define these threshold levels and basically define that whole governance model to trigger at the right time and to trigger at the right levels. So you only spend time on the exceptions, right? Or the products where, or the attributes where the AI falls below the threshold that you have predefined. And you can even have, and I'm sorry for taking up all the space, but even configure maybe different threshold levels for different categories of product, right? So for critical spares, you might want to have a very high confidence threshold, or maybe even have a human in the loop always. While for less critical items, it is perfectly fine to have a 70% confidence score on classification, because it's a long tail item. A long tail MRO item doesn't really matter if it's correctly specified down the way to the fourth level on UNSPSC, right? The fact that you get this granular confidence scoring is pretty impressive.
So I grabbed the different item, a whole truck, a Trip 7 Caterpillar. But again, you can see what the system does. I think that's very clear. In a lot of cases in the non-industrial environment, the suppliers supply really good quality product data. In the mining, manufacturing, industrial environments, it's often the product data is supplied by sort of resellers or wholesalers, and it comes in that they don't necessarily always supply all the attributes and all the details about the product, which then makes it very difficult within the PIM or the ERP to know what you have. Another challenge that we've seen is there's a number of organizations that makes use of free text purchase orders. Now, if you've got different people across the world that creates purchase orders in their own way, how can you have accurate data? You can't. And we've had a number of cases where larger organizations reached out to us and sort of said, we need to do the classification. But every time we come back where there's a portion of the data that is unfixable, and that is where SmartCapture comes in to provide the additional information on the product itself. And then you're able to classify, do further enrichment, and start doing your spend analytics, your predictive analytics, all those type of things. But then your foundational data is clean and enriched.
Yeah, as I said, I like the sort of granular confidence scoring that you see basically in every step on this overview screen. I think what you're showing, Isak, is now a very one data cleansing and classification. What if I have an MDM tool like Stibo or Syndigo or Via Medici or any MDM tool that I have, and I want to get some of the features or maybe all of the features of SmartCapture in there? How would that work?
Okay, so again, that's where the mapping comes in. So when the information, first of all, we need to understand what system do you have and what volume you want to put through the system. That way, our backend architecture will allow us to say, this is the scale and scale it accordingly. But then also the API mapping into a Syndigo or whichever tool you're talking about, that's actually the easy bit. We just need to know what fields do you want to bring in? Because if you look at product data and all the attributes, how many characters does it allow? How many different attributes does it allow? And is the mapping already within the tool itself? In other words, what does the data dictionary look like within the tool? Have they got a data dictionary, or do they need to use our data dictionary for ensuring that it is complete? And again, our data dictionary, if you look at normal dictionaries, have direct translations and things like that. But nowhere have we found so far such a complete data dictionary as what we've built. And we've used this in our AI over the last 4 years. It's only recently that we built sort of a UI UX that customers can now see what sits behind our technology, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. No, that of course, it is great that the flexibility and the mapping is not the biggest issue. And I agree. I think the decisions made by customers and the decisions made by businesses and basically forcing those decisions or cleaning up that, it's not technical debt, but decision debt, management debt on which data dictionary do you use? How is your product data model structured? Which attributes are required for which categories? There's often a lot that still needs to be done before you can actually get your hands dirty with cleaning the dirty data. And then it's good to know that it doesn't really matter for SmartCapture, at least, what you want to map it against, right? The SmartCapture model is flexible.
Yeah. SmartCapture model is flexible, and also the deployment time is much quicker than, how can I say, traditional, data cleansing and enrichment. If you do it manually or semi-automatic, it takes years. It's not a quick process, but I believe that we've sort of found ways of getting the first heavy lifting and doing between 70 and 90% by using our standard technology that we have, AI and agentic AI technology. But then moving forward, and I see a lot of clients think data doesn't stay clean. You've got to keep on maintaining it. You've got to ensure, because data changes as your organization change. Another very important point is that the data dictionary or the data needs to follow the organization, not a standard setup for each and every company is the same. They're not the same. the use of data, the dictionaries are completely different, and we customize it according to the needs of the customer.
I think you're touching a good point there, that it's a process, right? It's not a single thing you do. It is a misconception that we have to solve for education that we do have to do in the market or at our customers, that A, it's a process, and B, I think you already referred to this, the AI model in your case can do 6 million items an hour, right? The AI is not the bottleneck here. The bottleneck is the decision making and connections being done by humans during the change management project, more than the actual cleansing done by the AI. At least that's what we see in practice, that most work gets done, most time gets lost in that preparation process. Very little actually gets lost in the actual AI application process.
But it's also, Stephan, very important that from a cost perspective that you do this efficiently. You know, we speak to a lot of people in the market, and you get people that build wrappers and they say, okay, I'm going to do product data cleansing for you. It's just a wrapper. So it's a prompt that you put in. It then goes and scrapes the web. And you can do that with ChatGPT. You can do that with Grok. You can do that with everybody. But the challenge there is it brings a huge amount of information back. Now you've got to sort through this information and say, is this correct? And getting a lot of, it can be correct information, but we already sit with a massive information overload. And I think that's where the difference comes in with AICA having sort of the data dictionaries and the AI tools built around that to ensure that you only get the information that is required and not hallucinations, because we've also seen on a number of cases where clients have just used ChatGPT and they do 50 items at a time. That is really very difficult. And it's doable when the people are subject matter experts and they can sort of identify and correct where the errors are there. But we work with data sets, sometimes 350,000 items. To do that by hand and 50 using ChatGPT or any other LLM takes too much time. It's too costly.
I mean, it is, right? And if you start the process, it's pretty much a one-way door. It's very hard to go back when you have that synthetic data in. And it's also hard to, well, you should do small tests and batches before you do the full batch. But we've seen customers think they got it all configured correctly, then just pull their whole product data set through it, and then realize that, well, for some categories it worked perfectly, but for some other categories it was a total disaster using ChatGPT or Claude or whatever tool they were using. And they only find that out after processing 50,000 items or 500,000 items. That's unfortunate. Let's put it that way.
Stephan, also what we have on our website is to give clients an idea. And again, this is an estimation of what potential ROI can you get. And it's per industry. So there's an ROI calculator per industry to give you a bit of an idea of what your return on investment would be when you've got clean and enriched product data. And important before you kickstart a product data cleansing to have an understanding what will the impact be on your business.
Yeah, I think we can all agree that having clean data is necessary or is a great step in the right direction in providing business value, be that in the current day-to-day or in the also current, but maybe even more important in the future, AI capabilities or AI integrations or AI use cases for your product data. But having it spelled out this way, yeah, it does help move the board maybe into the right direction. Maybe they are not that focused on the latest AI developments as much as you are, but maybe not even as much as they should be. And I think the numbers speak for themselves. I mean, if you compare and contrast this with all the manual classification and cleansing efforts that we have tried before, I think still like the biggest misconception there is that manual classification is somehow better or more consistent. There is no such thing as a better human in these, I would say, grunt work classification or cleansing projects.
Stefan, it's actually quite strange. With self-driving now is already much safer than human beings, but the accuracy level. So we focus on accuracy, cost, and time, because nowadays time is one of the most important factors. And especially if you look at ERP implementation moving from on-premise to cloud, you can't efficiently do that if your data is not clean and enriched. And do you want to take 20 years worth of product data and services data and put it into the new application? No, you don't want to. You just make it top heavy. And that's where our experience and our technology comes in and helps a lot. So it's more accurate than human beings, although the human being is in the loop. We have to keep the human being in the loop. I don't think we're there yet. Earlier, I mentioned about multilingual translation and dialects and things like that. Keeping that up to date. There's new words created every day in our industry. And the best way to do this and keep it updated is using our SmartCapture.
Now, if people seeing this are intrigued, I am for sure, how would they then proceed?
So, Stefan, they can either come to us or work through our partner network. There's some organizations that prefer using their existing suppliers. We're very happy to work with those suppliers or some of our existing partners. And some organizations say, we want to reach out directly to you. But our website is icadata.com, where you can find the information. There's a lot of case studies, a lot of white papers that we've written over time that provides more detail, but also, can register and let's jump on a call and do a demo. But I think, first of all, let's understand your problem first. And we've got some really good tools to assist with that. The AICA AI Navigator, which have now been proven over the last 2 years to be very, very accurate and very good. And let's jump on a call and see how we can help you.
Yeah, exactly. I think every customer is different. Every architecture is different. Where the AI can be applied in the most efficient way can differ even per business unit. But that's the flexibility that the AI tooling brings. No, that's great, Isak. Thanks a lot for sharing that today. And I hope we can bring the market forward, because I think there's so much value to be unlocked here. It's just people don't realize, yes, there's maybe work that needs to be done before you can start reaping the benefits and start applying AI. You need to have some tough discussions and conversations maybe on the right configuration and the right change management within the organization. But if you bring AI into the process, it's not a one-off cleansing or classification. It's a continuous maintenance job. But if you unlock that value, it's a tremendous benefit, not just for the day-to-day operations, but also for the future of, let's just introduce one buzzword here, agentic commerce, right? You need to have the right data in place. So I'm glad we can show what is already possible with AI and how we can build that good, high quality product data foundation, even if you're coming from a dirty, messy situation. I mean, that's every organization we've seen has dirty, messy data, right? It's not a strange thing to have, but you can go from your current messy data situation to a clean, continuous, improved data foundation using AI so that you are, again, ready for that AI transformation. Thanks a lot, Isak. And
Thank you very much, Stefan.
have a nice one. And
You
for
too.
the audience, thanks for joining as well. And see you in the next one. Bye-bye.